So I want to talk a bit about why Umamusume feels so hard. And it's not just hard for the new player, and it's also hard across all the levels of skill. Like from the basic stuff like how to maximize your stats through the training, which kind of support card you're gonna use, into things like the nuance of the skill. Like some of the recovery skill are just straight up useless, like the iron wheel. Anything that has the word jammed it or surrounded are pretty much useless, and any recovery skill that procs too early or too late are also pretty bad. You wanna have it to procs at the mid race. And for the acceleration skill, it could be totally useless in one race course, or it's gonna be the absolutely game changer in the other race course. The levels of complexity is just insane. It's mind-blowing. And without these knowledge, your grind wouldn't be effective because you're picking the wrong skill. There are guides out there that try their best to explain which skill is better than the other, but you still want to figure out yourself because everyone's account is kind of different. And this is basically how I figured this out. I just put on the skill and then run the compare with two exactly the same Uma, and it's based off the real Uma that I've just trained it. And let's say I put on the mouse corners, and I press compare. So the Uma 2 is like 0.57 faster than the Uma 1. Then I delete it and replace with the other skill, like let's say fast pace it, and it's 0.38. And I just kind of take note which skill is actually better for my account, for my Uma. And yeah, people do say that the skill early lead is useless for the front runner. And as I tested it in the Umalator, it does absolutely nothing. And I just kind of go on and test all the skill that is available to me. And this is the result that I got for my Uma. But I can't guarantee that it's gonna work for your account. But once you recognize all the good skill, you're gonna put yourself into the grind, and that is the start of the RNG game. I would highly recommend you guys to figure out which skill is useful and which one is not, so that your grind wouldn't be wasted. I mean, every career run needs about 20 minutes, but to figure this out only need about 10 minutes. And yeah, don't forget to adjust your race course before you run the test. And you could look for the race course from here and the distance from here. So definitely utilize that. And the skill that deemed to be useful is the one that procs during the final lake, cause that's where the crazy acceleration is coming from, especially for the late surger and encloser. But for the front runners, is actually try to get the first place during the mid race, like the middle lake here. So that's why the skill like the mouse corner is so important for the front runner. And you could also mess around with the numbers here. Like let's say if I increase another 100 power to like 900, and boom, that's the 0.52 ahead to the other Uma. You could also do this when you got one of the good run. So that's how I figure which skill is better. And when I got front runner straightway, I got 0.28 improvement. So you could figure out which skill is better by doing this. And now you know which skill to pick on the next run. And just in case if you are curious, this is the support that I use. I think it took about 10-20 run to get a good ace for the champion meeting. And sometimes RNG is a bitch. I got everything that I need in the first inspiration, but I failed the career because I don't have enough stamina for the long distance race. I just genuinely feel so mad with this run. But man, if you decide to start to grinding for the parent, it could take up to 50 times. And it could get even crazier if you're trying to grind for the grandparent. It is lunacy. But good thing is we got Umamusume DB. We could borrow whatever types of parent we want. So definitely utilize that. But you gotta know which parent is actually good for your account. And that also need a lot of learning. And just when you find your perfect parent, the account just couldn't handle any more followers, because they reached their maximum numbers of followers and you couldn't use their parent. And you kind of want to compromise from that, I actually do the career 3 times a day just to use up all the borrow, and I still got 60% win rate with the free-to-play account. And the number one thing you want to take care is the acceleration skill. Like for this champion meeting, groundworks play a crucial role. If you don't have groundwork for your front runner, you already lose at that point. I put my mediocre front runners into the match room, and I play against some of the late surger or the end closer that got a really crazy stat like max speed and 1000 power. I could still win them consistently because the front runner strategy seems to be the meta, not because I'm good at the game. It's because the JP veteran put the guide out there and I just simply learned it. So definitely secure your skill before anything. And then follow with the S distant because that's like 120 speed. And I think generally it takes about like 4 to 5 run to get an S. And by borrowing a good parent, you would also get a good skill for free. Like in this champion meeting, it's gonna be the skill from the Saiyan Sky. But if you're playing other running style, I'm not the best source. Figure out yourself. Cause the goal of my video is really just to explain why the game feels so hard. And after you figure it out, you just borrow the parent of your choice. And that way you just put on your own parent along with the borrowed parent. And I think you could realistically get a pretty decent ace out of that. Cause that's how I train it for the Gemini Cup. You wanna borrow the 9-star Uma to get the most stat out of it. But when it comes to your own parent, the stat from the blue spark is not as important as the right skill. I would rather have a 7-8 star Uma with the right skill than the 9-star perfect Uma with the wrong inherit skill. So definitely keep that in mind. But even with all the knowledge or the tools, I think a lot of players who get to this point, especially when you RNG through the career multiple times, I think you could quickly find out that this is actually a support game. The highest ceiling that you could get is dictated by how good is your support card. And did you max it, like getting 5 copies of it? I mean, like you could RNG through the career to get the higher role, get a better stat and get a better skill with countless amounts of tries, but you're not gonna be able to out RNG the account with all the good support, cause they could get a stronger ace than you in like about 10-20 run, while you could do 50-60 run, and your ace is still much weaker than them. And I also plan to skip the Rice Shower and the Rigo Hashimoto. Those two SSR are coming with the same banner and will be dominating the champion meeting for a really long while. And I could say that will definitely tank my win rate, and I wouldn't be surprised if I ends up in the B final, but I wouldn't really mind that, cause if you take a look at the JP support, like both of these SSR are going to be power creeped, and of course the Kita-san Black is also gonna be power creeped. So I would rather save my carrot for the waifu and some of the key SSR in the future. So that's my plan for now. And by the way, by just being able to get into the B final, you should be proud of yourself, because you are already at the above average player at that point. So if I were to describe the dynamics of the difficulties of the game, it's gonna be looking like this. So let's say this is the power levels of your account. We will put it 100. Assuming that you have the knowledge with the moderate grind, let's say about like 10-20 run, to get this 100 potential, to reach your baseline power level. But if you want to work for the high roll, to get 20% more power levels, you gotta train 10 times harder, cause you wanna roll the parent, and you also wanna roll your ace even harder, to get all the S distant or the good skill with the good stat. But if you wanna go crazier, like starting from training your grandparent, that's like 20 times harder to get like 5 to 10% of the power levels. So I guess that's why when it comes to training for the grandparent, it's better to just focus on winning the G1 race for the affinity, because the affinity would give you some extra stats through the spark, and you still wouldn't be able to win the whales, cause their baseline power levels is already way ahead than your optimal grind. 1020 run in their account is stronger than your 50-60 run. And I think it is this crazy amounts of grind that makes people feel the game is so hard. And of course, the knowledge in itself is also hard for most of the player out there. And for the seasoned player, it is the grind. The grind could drive you crazy. So I hope that would give you a better picture of how this game is like. So definitely don't push yourself too hard. The ceiling of your account is already decided with the quality of the support that you have. And you are just bashing your head into the wall without any progress if you're trying to break that ceiling. And that's all what I want to say about this game. So yeah, take the game easy and see ya guys. Don't forget to like and sub.